Well, it is definitely loud. Oh, really? Okay. Well, hopefully we don't, alert her to say anything more. Okay. Okay, so thanks for coming, everybody. Let's see where we get to today. Um, we always start with a little centering. We call it centering. Some people might call it mindfulness or meditation. We, meaning creating compassionate coaches, we call it centering. So it's a little more just eclectic, you know, and it is about finding our center. So our center is here. We relate to our center as being at our heart, in the center of our body, a little bit like those chakras, down the, excuse me, running down the center of our body at our heart level. Okay, so we're going to focus on that. With breathing, I'll just lead you with a very simple little breathing focus. And we're going to center on that area here at our heart. Okay, so sitting comfortably, feet can be flat on the floor or whatever feels most comfortable for you. And usually, as when we're doing our centering or meditation, mindfulness, then the back straight is helps us with our breathing. Okay, and just to bring that energy down and move it through our body. So eyes are usually just you can have them open if you wish, but generally we say it's good to have your eyes not squeezed tight closed, but gently closed, maybe leaving a little bit of a space there, a little opening to let some light in. Okay, said that your eyes are closed or squeezed tight, and you can even get a little sleepy and mind wanders more easily. If they're wide open, mind wanders more easily. So just close gently, leave a little bit of space there, maybe sort of with the direction of about a couple of feet in front of you. Okay. Shoulders level, possible. Notice if you're holding tension in your shoulders. You can do a few shoulder rolls just to relax them as we get started. Hands resting in your lap or on your knees. And now bring your focus to your nose, to the nostrils. As we breathe in, and the air enters our nostrils, enters our nose, and comes up, and then down into our lungs, and all the way down. Imagine going all the way down to your abdomen, and then breathing out, coming up and out through the nose again. If it's more comfortable for you to breathe out through your mouth right now, that is also fine. But try to keep your focus on the breath entering through your nose, coming in to your body, down to your lungs, and then down to the abdomen, and gently leaving again through your nose, through your mouth. let all of that energy that got you here today, maybe rushing a little bit, organizing your day to get here, let it go with your out breath. Notice your mind wandering, gently bring it back to the breath. Just take a moment to reflect on the why you are here, what brought you here today, and at the end of the class, what is it that you would like to have gained from being here? And we are going to take a moment to introduce ourselves after this and you to think about what it is that you would like people to know about you. What would you like to share with those in this class? So we'll just go around our little circle and take it in turns just to introduce yourself. Is there anything that you'd like people to know about you? And the why, what would you hope to leave with after this class? What would you hope to take away with you? So the why of why we are here. So who would like to start? We can start anywhere. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. We are. Exactly. Or we were going to be there. So, yes, sorry about that from our side. Okay. Yeah, we've all got a bit of that, you know. Okay, thank you. Mm, 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 mm. Thank you. Coming. Wonderful. Thank you. Wonderful. Oh. Okay, welcome. Thank you. Mm. Uh-huh. Thank you. Thank you. A great group. It's always interesting to see just who comes together, for these kind of events, actually, for anything really, who comes into your life at certain times. But when you make a conscious decision like this and something just pops up, it's always sort of a little magical. So, welcome everybody. Wonderful that you all made it here today and that I was able to be here. Never know. So, a little bit about why I'm here. Um, so, you might have read a little bit about me, but yes, I lived and worked in Nepal for 10 years, 78 to 88, and was very, very fortunate to be working, living, working in a monastery with very great teachers, Lama Thubten Nyeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And having that great good fortune and receiving many teachings from great lamas, along with, His Holiness Dalai Lama. Um, and when I moved here I'm actually from Australia originally, as is Romy out the back there. We Aussies are taking over here. And went from Australia to India, sort of on a spiritual search, and ended up with the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala. And from there, heard about this program that happens every year in a monastery in Nepal. And that's Cayton Monastery, where I stayed, studied, lived for 10 years. Um, but Lama Yeshe, Thubten Nyeshe, he passed away in 1984, in March 4th, 1984. But he was actually the person who said, we need this property for what he called universal education. So it was actually, we are here part of his vision for this property. And his concept of universal education was really, he was very much ahead of the times. He was just an incredible, innovative thinker. And as a Tibetan Lama, he was, really an expansive sort of, contemporary teacher and thinker. And his concept was that, in essence, every culture, every religion has their own sort of wisdom teachings, their wisdom, compassion teachings. And he said, what we need to do is to really bring the essence of those teachings, not the religion, but the essence of what those religions are teaching, what their philosophy, their wisdom teachings. Bring that into everyday life. Bring it into schools for children. Bring it into programs for adults, And he talked about this concept, universal education, is for people from birth to death. It's about how we live our life, how we see ourselves in the world, how we see the world around us, and the interconnection between the two. It was so profound that it took me a long time to kind of figure out, what he or how he meant we should do this. And I think there's countless ways to do it, actually. But how he did it was he actually he taught the Dharma, he taught Buddhism, and he taught pure Buddhism, but it didn't always sound like Buddhism, right? Because it didn't have all that language with it that came along with it. That sometimes can create a block or some confusion with it, right? And that's just the way he taught. But how he really did it was he connected with people. He connected with that. And I think that's what, His Holiness Dalai Lama does too. It's like connecting from the heart, that sameness, that deep sameness that we all share, in essence. We are all, in essence, I guess, one. We all have that, that innate goodness, that enlightened energy or potential within us. It's just we get very distracted with our life, I mean, right? Distraction can really get in the way of a lot of things. And actually, supposedly, research shows that the distracted mind, of which I'm very much, is very much in control of me, my mind, the distracted mind actually does not bring us happiness, does not bring us that sort of feel good that we're all looking for, So that's an interesting concept. I wonder even what some of you might think about that. Does a distracted mind bring us happiness, or does it leave us feeling more, I suppose, lacking in some way, or agitated, or not so, okay, peaceful? So I've kind of thought about that a little bit. Does anybody have anything to say about that? What do you think about that? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Anybody else? Mm. It's true. I really thought about this too, and I think there's definitely some truth in that, leaves you, a little bit perhaps dissatisfied or agitated. But also, personally, I think that sometimes our mind will follow a thought, of course, that can lead us to some good insights, perhaps, or some new ideas. So I still have this as a question, to be honest. But it depends what your mind wanders to. I think that's the thing. Um, if our purpose is to be focused on something so that we can work our way through it and achieve that, of course, when we're centering or meditating, we want to try to stay very focused and not follow the mind that is wandering, because that mind is, it's full of thoughts. It's full of distraction. There's not going to be any end to that unless we really do manage to tame our minds and train our minds, right? So I think sometimes just depending, it's an interesting question. You can think more about it, and hopefully you come back next week and you can bring your ideas and thoughts back on that. Oh yeah, oh sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. That's great that you know, that you sense it's there and how to actually tap into it. So that is going to be something that definitely we have to train our minds to be able to do that, to keep the focus, on the different practices that can help us connect there, and to go there fairly regularly. And some recent research. Have you any of you heard of Richie Davidson? So I'm going to bring in a little bit of research every now and then into this class, because it's a fascinating and exciting time we're in right now, where science and latest, breakthroughs in neuroscience particularly is really supporting these ancient wisdom traditions. And so it is a really fascinating time. And there's a lot of research coming out. Richie Davidson is one of the people who he's done a lot of research on the brain activity in meditators and people who have been meditating for a lot of years. And And he's also, he has a center. It's called the Center. To look at my notes to make sure I tell you the right thing. Um, the Center for, uh, thank you. You are right. Thank you. Developing Healthy Minds. Yeah, in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, the university there. So I would really, I'm going to let you know some of these people that I have found very inspiring that have done a lot of research because you can go onto their websites and you can learn a lot. So, Richie Davidson. Richie Davidson. And I believe he mentions that he actually met the Dalai Lama in 92, and it just changed his whole focus on his research. So he's a psychologist and also a neuroscientist, and he's a graduate of Harvard Psychology Department. But he's wonderful guy, and he's done a lot of amazing research that's very helpful and inspiring in this day and age because, um, I think there's a lot of people who are looking for how to connect with that place in themselves without having to necessarily, adopt the religion, you know. So it's a great way for people to understand in a very practical way, what it is that these different religions and wisdom traditions actually are speaking about, without feeling any way threatened by the religious part of it. So he's a great person to be able to look up and study more with. Um, anyway, so it wasn't until I moved here with my two young children, my husband, two young children, and we moved here to this property, and uh, and I sort of looked around for it as far as education goes for my children, and I couldn't find anything that really addressed the inner development of the child. And I could see, having come from very different cultures, Australia to Asia, to a monastic setting, and I was teaching there as well, and teaching the professors, the called geshis, in the centers, preparing them for going to the West to teach in the West. And I could see that my experience with geshis is that they didn't seem to understand how to bring, it wasn't so easy how to bring the Buddhist teachings to the West. It's a very different way of communicating. And so I was trying to help them to understand how to do that, which is something that Lama Yeshe, particularly Lama Yeshe, was able to do in an amazing way. And I would say to you all, there is actually free little booklets. Becoming Your Own Therapist is one of them by Lama Yeshe that you might really enjoy reading. And I think they're in the bookstore. Are they, Romy? Yeah, so you can pick one up there if you're interested. But Becoming Your Own Therapist is one of his books, and so he just naturally seemed to have that, and it was about connecting with each person somehow from here. That's that universal. And as he's talked about universal education, it's that universal. Every being has those same qualities deep inside, but we're manifesting so many different ways because of our experiences in life, because of the cultures we were raised in, has a huge impact on us. And research shows that the greatest impact, of course, is from the home, our first environment. There's a great, he calls himself a bioecological systems theorist. He passed away in 2005, Yuri Bronfenbrenner. Sarah may have heard of him as an educator. A lot of educators have heard of him. But he talked about, he was originally came from Russia when he was 6 years old to New York. And he started to, as he got older and also into education, he started to see also the difference in cultures and the way that you are raised has this profound effect on you. Mm, mm, yep, that's right. Mm, mm-hmm. It is, yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? Yeah. So this is what Yuri Bronfenbrenner saw as well and discovered from his own experience. And he talks about all these different spheres throughout our world and universe, that impact us to varying degrees. But the primary, most powerful impact on our development and sense of self comes from our earliest years. And of course, that's the time, particularly between 0 and 8 years old, where the mind is so absorbent and, creating all these, ideas, exploring the world, understanding the world and themselves, and also the time when we start to separate as more independent, our sense of self starts to develop. So those young years are extremely important. They're crucial to healthy development. There's also something called, you probably heard of secure attachment. So talking about child development, this is something that can affect us for our whole lifetime. It comes and starts in the home. And its secure attachment is a sense that came from two researchers, Bowlby and what's her name? I mean, here I am with names. um, but anyway, two researchers, I'll come to that. And they talked about how if you have this secure attachment sense of if there's somebody who, even just one person, who really sees you, who is a secure person for you that you can always go to, who sees you, who loves you unconditionally, then that provides the child with this sense of safety, right? This sense of sort of I matter, somebody loves me and I can always go to them. So that sense that we get from somebody who is our secure attachment figure, that sense of safety and I am okay and I am valued, stays with us through our lifetime, that helps us to be more resilient, more trusting of others, right? More belief in ourselves. I can do it. I'm okay. I can do this. But the good thing is, even if you didn't necessarily have that, because unfortunately we don't all have that in our early life, right? So through our life, we can meet people who provide that for us, who connect with us somehow. It might be a teacher you had, or it might be, a spiritual guide, or it may be a neighbor, who you get to know and who seems always there for you and really acknowledges you, cares about you. Who knows? But there's somebody. So even if it doesn't happen in your early life, then it will happen along the way somewhere it can, right? And I think that's a little bit where some of us are always searching for that, perhaps for a long time. People perhaps do search for that. And it might be more on a spiritual level, right? So it's just being able to connect in some way with somebody, with at least one person. So just for an interesting reflection, I think we're going to reflect on that for a moment, on who that person was for you. Has that person, perhaps it was a parent, perhaps it was, somebody else through your life, but who really connected with you, you know, and how did they, and what were their qualities? Okay, so let's sit comfortably. We're going to have another reflection. Sitting comfortably. Yes, and if you want to sit on the floor, you're welcome. Oh, under your feet, yeah. Yes. Anybody want to do something like that for more comfort? Probably, um, one of the postures when you're meditating is that you have your left hand palm up, your right hand on top palm up, and your thumbs just gently touching. Okay, helps us a little bit to center. Focus on the breath, get centered, the breath entering and leaving through the nose. Let's take a moment to reflect on that person in our life who really saw you, somebody who felt was always there for you, who somehow really seemed to know you. Perhaps even without words, there was this sense that they were connecting deeply with you, who you really were. The sense that they cared about you in an unconditional way. Now, the essence of who you were, who you are. How did they do that? What was it that they did? Was it just their way of being? The way they spoke to you? Listened to you? How did they affect the way you see yourself or you saw yourself? You see yourself. Mm. So we'll just share what came up for us. Um, Maybe who the person was, a little bit about, what was it about them that, how did they connect so deeply with you? And how has that affected even the way you see yourself? Okay, let's see what comes up. Who would like to share? A friend? Mm. Mm. Okay. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's a powerful friendship. Openness and availability, accepting, right? And courageous, I guess, to think outside the box, not just go along with it, but seeing you for as far as for you being open, available, and accepting. Yeah. Ah, thank you. Anybody else? So, friend, yes, parents. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. So guided you um, to be open and see God even in a rock. To be open. Mm. Godmother or grandmother? Godmother? Grandmother. Oh, is your accent French? Yeah, grandmother. Uh-huh. So unconditional love, always there for you. Yeah. Romy? Yeah. Mhm. Beautiful. Yeah. Because in our essence, that is always inside all of us, right? But we're not relating to it. We're not seeing ourselves as that. We're not focusing on that. And so just having that reminder again and again, that's beautiful. Thank you. Spiritual teacher speaking to me as my potential being, my inner being, my true being. Anybody else? Mm-hmm. Non-judgmental. Saw me as capable, capable of anything, just capable. Thank you. Thank you. That we are at that. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So that's the thing for us to know too. After that would be coming in this discussion too, that even if we don't sense that we can find that person, we didn't have that person, then sometimes it's a role model. Perhaps not even that they connected deeply with us, but it might be somebody who really stands out, comes to you as a role model of who you are or can become as your greatest potential actualized in a sense, and belief that you can. So in this case, is that sort of a little bit like what you mean? You find that in yourself without somebody pointing it out to you or finding it for you. Is that sort of what you're saying? Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, yeah, I think you're onto something there. Yeah, interconnection. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and there's a lot around, there's a lot of talk these days and research on self-compassion. And in essence, I mean, there's different ways of interpreting, I think, and understanding what is self-compassion. But I think one of the ways is to believe that you have, this unlimited potential, and to believe that in yourself. And we all make mistakes, right? We all do, and we all have our different struggles in life. We all do. I say that's why we're here, you know. Hey, we're learners, and to stay learners, to stay open to it. But we have to also, go easy on ourselves sometimes and forgive ourselves too. Just, you know, be not too judgmental about ourselves. There's a lot of these things, right? All these things that come up. We need to practice on ourselves as well, because sometimes we can be very hard on ourselves. Where that judgmental attitude about ourselves comes from is an interesting question too. And, so a lot of that time, I mean, we might find it might be, again, back from where we started in the home. Perhaps it was from our education, our workplace, friends. But we have to be aware of that, don't fall for that, right? We have that Buddha potential. We have that, bodhisattva quality. We have that. But it's just we're very distracted by all these other messages we're getting from our environment, from our culture, from all the messaging that comes we're bombarded with in the world today. So it takes some practice and commitment to stay focused. Like, I'm not going to fall for that, and be strong with yourself too, and say, you know, hey, don't go there. you know, be gentle with yourself. A quote from Alama Yeshi, my inspiration for all this work was he would he one of his quotes was, be gentle with yourself. If you're gentle with yourself, you can be gentle with others. Right? We're doing more. We'll be exploring more about this as we move forward. So thank you, very nice. Thank you. Now, how do I write that down? Myself, oneself, mm, mm, self love. Hmm. Mm, very nice. Yeah. Yes. Oh, so family, friends. Uh-huh. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Well, yeah. So it would be interesting, exactly. We can be that for whoever we're with. As we develop that ability to be there for others, right? From that quality in ourselves, that unconditional love, and that seeing others, that we are all, in essence, sort of that one essence, that one quality deep inside, that um, innate goodness, that Buddha quality. What is that for quality? We all have it. Everybody has it. And we have to believe that we have it. Do we have a ways to go to really realize it? And actually, of course we do. That's what we're doing. But you're all here and we're all here because we're working on that. That's what brings us here. And that is very powerful. As is a quote from His Holiness Dalai Lama, never give up. That's it. Never give up. So keep working at it, keep working at it. And you will naturally be. If you show interest, and that's where it's really good in this prompt or in this reflection, is to think about the qualities that the other person had that would enable them to really offer us that gift, connect with us deeply. What was it? What were the qualities? Was it the way they listened to us and looked at us when we were talking and seemed to understand? The non-judgmental comes up again and again, right? So there's qualities, and that's where you see how they actually did it, in a sense, how you can connect with others. Anybody else? Cared. Anybody else? Share. So we have friends, parents, sorry, I'm in the way, grandmother, spiritual teacher, grandfather, oneself, teachers, many people, wife. So a lot of different people, a lot of different ways that people connect deeply. What are their qualities that they bring, the ways that they connect with us? openness, availability, accepting. Oh, and his dad, yeah. They guided us to be open, open to other beliefs, see God even in a rock, non judgmental, forgiving, unconditional love, always there for us, speaking to me as my potential being, not seeing me as an ordinary person, but reinforcing we are something much greater than that. Non judgmental again, saw me as capable, seeing the light in oneself. We have to believe we have that quality. And as we develop that ability to connect with that quality in ourselves, that quality will shine through and people will feel it. Because that's the way we'll relate to everybody, right? We'll give that energy off. Believed in my potential. Teachers who believed in my potential and they cared about me. So, deep human values here, deep human qualities that all of us in different ways are looking for that same thing, those same qualities, the same qualities, relationships, and we can give that to others. Connect in a deep way. Anybody want to add to this? Something that's not there? Yeah. Empowering. So they empowered you somehow. It was empowering to be with them. How did they do that? As a friend? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. He learned from you. Yeah, he saw you. He was inspired by you. Interested in you. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that the fact that you are all here, you are definitely, you definitely have also all these qualities and want to develop those kinds of qualities. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. It's my thinking. And it's 10 past 11. Does anybody want to grab a tea from downstairs? You can bring it back to sip on. A drink of water, a stretch, a pee break. Okay. So just let's come back. Oh, thanks. I do now. How do I turn this off? Hold on a second. Is this it? Do I turn it off? Is that it? Just that tiny? Hello. Yes. Uh-huh. Mm. Mm. Right. And I think that's absolutely right. And it's a little bit like when we find those, as we focus on finding that and connecting with that quality in ourselves, it is like a completion. It's a completion. But interesting how we actually develop those qualities, those Buddha qualities too, is um, is through thinking of others and giving it to others. So that's why when we do this reflection, it's really looking at the qualities that other people have that were able to connect with us, right? I think it's picking up around the circle. Yeah, this is on. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. We're all on there together. Yes. Mhm. Oh, that's nice. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. I mean, we get back what we give out, in essence, right? And we're going to be talking more about that all the way through this program. Um, but it's how to have confidence that we have those qualities and to move in more inner, right? And not get muddled up in all the talk, right? Because we've got a lot of talk. It's nonstop, pretty much. That's that distraction that is mentioned. The distraction doesn't bring happiness, and I think it's those those voices, you know, in our mind. The a lot of them. What would you say a lot of those voices are doing? What are those voices? Where do they come from? Those stories, those messages about ourselves. Where do they come from? And we've already talked about that, right? They come from our upbringing, the culture. And now more than ever, we have voices that are telling us and pictures that are telling us through technology. It's powerful and it's overwhelming and it's nonstop. And everybody's got, we've even the children, eh? Definitely the children. We've all got computers in our pockets. Right. Yes. We are programmed and we continue to be programmed with new. Yes. Yes. And especially now with AI. I mean, this is it's a big topic because it's where we are at. And we have it's our life. It is everywhere. Um, I remember some years ago now, maybe at least 10 years ago, seeing an ad for, I think it was for iPhone, and there was a llama. You probably, I don't know if you ever saw it, a Tibetan llama sitting on a mountaintop, with his phone. And actually, that's what you see when you go to Asia now. It's true. All the lamas, the Tibetans, all the monks, they've all got their phones. Yes. It's a different world. When we lived there, there were no TVs when we lived there. I mean, and there was one movie theater that just showed Hindi movies. That was it. We didn't even have a phone. I mean, this is in the 70s, right? And 80s. And so for me, moving then here in 89, 88, we moved here, 1988. And it was, talk about culture shock, you know. And I could see the difference working with young children, in a monastic setting in Nepal, a third world country, very much so. I mean, there were no, hey, there were no toys. Kids didn't have toys. So, they'd make a hole in the ground and they'd have stones and they'd try to get the stone in the hole, or the old bicycle wheel and pushing it along with a stick. They didn't have toys. And so their upbringing was so different from what I was met with here, moving to this culture, the edge of Silicon Valley, in 88, and the beginning, of course, the dot-com era, and seeing also just the research starting to change. They started to talk about emotion, was just very new. And as we went along, as um, talking, going through that emotional intelligence, which was very, very inspiring. Daniel Goleman, he was really one of the leaders in the development of that awareness of emotional intelligence and bringing that into education. So the whole education story is a whole other story, but children, there's no time in school these days to pay attention to the inner development of the child because they have to teach through the tests. There's more and more tests. They have to teach children to the tests. And primarily, in public school anyway, all their learning is online, on computers, on tablets. So it's a very different world that these kids are being raised in. So there's also a difference in the way that they're relating to the world and to themselves in the world. Um, so I think this whole impact of the culture on the development of the child became extremely prominent in my mind. I was very aware of it. And I'd see, for instance, in working in Nepal, a child would fall over and, or they'd have a terrible, infection on their ear or something, and they just handle it. Here, a child would fall over and the mother would completely panic. And so the child learned that that's something to panic about. That's a scary thing. And they get wired that way to believe that. So our beliefs and the way we see our children and the children or each other, right, is affecting the way they see themselves. And there's research that shows that. We'll talk more about that as we go along, but it's very powerful. So not only that, but of course, the other thing that I would see is that children were so much more capable than we gave them credit for here. So here it was just starting to begin to talk about emotion, but it that was very, very new. But at this stage in the late 80s, developmental psychologists were saying that children preschool age could not develop empathy. And I was like, that just doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to check. And very soon I discovered that, hey, they're wrong, you know. And now research has come around to show that actually we're actually born with empathy, a natural empathy, or that Darwin talked about as sympathy. So he said, he actually said, we often think of Darwin as being, the survival of the fittest, but actually he talks about how the greatest human emotion and quality for the survival of the planet, of humanity, is sympathy. And that we have that from a very young age. We're basically born with that, you know. So that empathy, there's more research coming out, but research is starting to catch up. I remember somebody, a conference I was at in DC, actually, with the Dalai Lama, and somebody asked, well, how do you teach compassion to children? And His Holiness said, well, you know, the mother teaches compassion. It's taught in the home, and the mother gives compassion to their child, and that child, you know, learns from that experience, that taps in a sense, it develops their compassion, right? So we're actually born with this. We look at the different approaches of Darwin, right? And what His Holiness says and what research is showing now, we have this, again, this innate goodness, right? But when we're born into the world and into the family, the primary environment, like Ewan Bronfenbrenner in his research talked about, that primary environment that we're born into. It's like this woman I worked with, she called it pickling, kind of pickles us in that environment, right? And we adopt it, we absorb it. So we absorb through our senses, our five senses. We're just talking about these water bowls. So our senses, we're absorbing the environment around us all the way, all the time, constantly through our senses. We're absorbing this, listening, looking, don't know, tasting, feeling. So, and it triggers different things to arise in our mind, right, and in our nervous system, right? Based on what? Based on, do we all experience the same thing at the same time? So we're going to be going into that a lot more, right? Into our mind and what creates our mind, what creates us. But we are narrative beings, and we have voices. We have voices from our past. We have things people have said to us that have left an impression. We have experiences we've absorbed from our environments, most powerful since, the first environment we were nurtured in, and going out from that. Because our parents also were affected, right, by their upbringing. So that comes out into the home environment and into us. So it keeps on going, right? Another great breakthrough is what with research, and Richie Davidson talks a lot about this too, and a lot of his research on epigenetics. So epigenetics is really, that these things in our experiences affect us all almost to a genetic level. It doesn't change our DNA, but it does. It's like they talk about, like little switches that can turn something up and develop something, or turn it down and sort of deaden it or not pay attention. But we can change. We know we are changing. Research shows we are changing every moment. Every moment we are changing. So it gives us incredible hope that we can tap into those inner qualities that we all have and change our mind, change our life. And we're going to be exploring that together. But because we have, um, we all have our own lives, and we bring ourselves wherever we go, wherever we are in any moment, that's it. That's our life, and that's us in that moment, right? Right. So what we want to do is to go and choose environments that actually help to support our development, right? Help to support our development, to find those qualities. to develop that innate goodness in us, that enlightened potential, right? So a place where we spend a lot of our time might be the workplace, might be our home, right? Where is it that we spend most of our time? And regardless, what is it that we want to bring into our life, no matter where it is? But we're going to have a focus. But first and foremost, before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit more about the world we live in today, understanding that, do I have this switched on? I think I do, yeah. Understanding that we are all part of this vast interconnected universe that is connected much more than it ever has been through technology, right? And that technology can be our friend. I always say Google's my friend. Anything I want to know, I can just Google it. So technology is our friend. It's not going to go away. It's not going to lessen. It's going to increase more and more. What are the benefits and what are the downfalls of it? And what can we do to make those choices and protect ourselves, I guess, so that we're choosing things that actually are leading us in a direction or empowering us to be able to find that inner potential and to be aware of that. And what potentially could be the consequences, the downfalls and the negative consequences of it, what could be positive. So we're going to spend a little time talking about this, say 5 minutes. 2, 4, 6. Okay, we can break into, we're an odd number. I was going to say just do dyads. But you could turn, maybe you two can discuss and you can discuss and you can discuss and then we can discuss or you can join that twosome. And we're just going to talk about, reflect for a moment and then break up and talk about, what comes up for us around this, around the technology and the effect it has on our lives and potentially on the world, and we're going to just share back. So, okay, let's take a moment. Let's just take a moment to go in, give ourselves a moment to think about it, to reflect on it. Focusing back on the breath to center. Give our mind a little bit of space and just focus on the breath coming and going. Let's take just a moment to reflect on the world we live in today. Busy world, busy space. We talk about distraction. And there's a lot to bring to cause or create distraction for us. And of course, for those around us, the, our communities and the world at large. But there's also technology brings us a lot of opportunity to connect with others around the world, connect with those who we feel close to. And just take 5 minutes to really us see what comes up for us around the positives and the potential, positive potential in technology. And then the potential distraction and negative consequences of it. So let's turn to the person next to you, to your left. Mm. Yeah, come in. Yeah, bring your little chair. Yeah, it's easy. I'm going to turn this off. Oh, 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 good. Oh, well, can you come to next? Oh, you go to the Goat Hill Fair. Oh, well, I've always wanted to go. I love, vintage stuff. Yeah. Right. Oh, I think I've still got this on.